Hello and welcome to Inclusion Insights. From the inside out, real questions, real experiences, real answers. I'm Simon from the Inclusion Project, and I'm really happy to be joined by Emma from Mencap, Wills and Trust Manager. Thank you for having us here in your offices in London. We really appreciate your time.
No, thank you so much for coming along. Really excited to chat to you.
Just to give some context, so the Inclusion Project services young neurodiverse adults across multiple counties, and we have around 500 different young people that are on average probably in their mid to late 20s, and I'd say probably half of them live at home with their parents or guardians and the other half in supported living. And quite often we get asked questions about the sad reality that what happens when parents, guardians are not here anymore, and we're not in a position, we don't have that knowledge, but what we would like to try and do is act as a voice, as a conduit to try and get that knowledge from experts. So again, we're so happy for you to be here, or for us to be here with you, and for your time. So I have some questions from some of our parents. The first one being, if anything happens suddenly to myself and my husband, I have no idea what would happen to our son, as we have no family in the area and he is an only child. And despite being fairly clued up on most things to do with my son's needs and care, I find the whole process of what happens when we are no longer around really daunting and unclear. So I mean, what would you say to help give some clarity to that kind of thing, of what we could put in place or what can be done?
I think firstly I'd say you're not alone. Here at the Wills and Trust Service, we hear from so many families who feel really daunted about what's going to happen when they're no longer here, and also find it quite distressing as well, like completely understandably. So what the Wills and Trust Service does is we offer free support and guidance to making sure that they can protect their loved one's financial future, and so their loved one can keep living the life that they've built together. So the Wills and Trust Service, we run free webinars online that families can attend, where we speak about the importance of writing a will and setting up a trust for a loved one for learning disability. We invite a legal professional to come along to talk about the legal side of things. We have a Q&A session as well, where people can ask questions about their situation. We also offer free Wills and Trust guides that people can download as well. And we have a small team who are there to offer support and guidance as well, who people can reach out to. We hear from so many families as well that are going through this exact time and not knowing what to do to put those provisions in place. But when it comes to protecting the financial future, the Wills and Trust Service is here for them to help them make those decisions. I would say if it's for your loved one, for supported living and things like that, like guardianship, we do offer a guide on guardianship as well, but that's for children under the age of 18. So if you wanted further information about supported living and things like that, then please do contact the Learning Disability Helpline at Mencap.
Okay, great, thank you. And we'll have all the links to everything mentioned there below on whatever various platforms this is on. So, I mean, that's great. And I guess to drill into it a little bit further, what would be the right kind of trust to set up? So this is for a particular example for my son from this parent, so that we can safely leave him money, but it doesn't get taken to pay for his supported living, because I think that is a big concern of parents, is that, and I mean, I don't know how qualified I am to speak on this, but, there's a certain prerequisite of funding that for independent supported living that maybe parents would feel like shouldn't come from what they're leaving, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
What would you say to that?
So we don't tell you what kind of trust you should set up, because it's down to your own personal circumstances. Yeah. The Wills and Trust Service just focuses on two different types of trust. So there's a discretionary trust and a disabled person's trust that we talk about. So a discretionary trust is more flexible, so other family members can benefit from the trust. A disabled person's trust mostly benefits the person with a learning disability or the disabled person, but there is a certain criteria they have to meet to be able to apply for a disabled person's trust. And this is where a legal professional comes in. So here at Mencap, we have a list of STEP qualified legal professionals that families can reach out to us and we can send to them in their county. STEP stands for Society of Trust and Estate Practitioners, and it indicates that the legal professional has a high expertise in wills and probate. But yeah, we do really recommend that people speak to a legal professional to get that sorted. You mentioned as well about making sure money isn't taken for supported living. So I think at the moment there is always some confusion about who owns that money in a trust. It is quite a complex. It's a complex topic. Thank you. It is a complex topic, and I think that's why it's so good for people, if you're at the start of this journey, to come along to one of our webinars, because we just start right at the beginning, break it down really easily, and I think what families need to know is if a trust is set up for your loved one with a learning disability, it's not their money, and I think that's the thing. So people worry that money will be taken from the trust, but they can't take money from the trust because it's not that person's money.
Wait, when you say not, you mean it's not like a supported living person's money, or it's not the...
Not the individual, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so because the trust is set up for them, it'll be in the name of something like the Smith Family Trust Fund, for example. So if a person with a learning disability has savings of their own, that's their money,
right,
and that can count towards like having to pay for supported living and things like that because it's their money.
Okay.
So that's why we talk to families about how important it is to set up a trust, because if they were to pass away and left a direct inheritance to their loved one for learning disability, that then becomes their money and will then have to be used. They'll probably lose their means tested benefits, and it would then have to be used to pay for things until that money runs out, and then they'd have to reapply for the benefits, which of course would be really distressing, especially when their parents are no longer around as well.
Okay, but if it's in a trust...
If it's in a trust,
then
it's
means
protected.
It's protected.
Yeah, for the person.
But they can still access it.
They can still access it. So the trust is managed by trustees.
Right.
So these can be people like family members or friends. Must be people you trust, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of legal things that have to be done, a lot of financial things. You can have a professional manage it, which is like a legal professional, and also trust companies as well. But what you do is basically the person who's the trust is for would speak to the trustees and say, for example, I'd like some money to go on holiday, and then they'd speak to the trustees, and then the trustees, if they agree, will release that money to the person.
Interesting. Okay, I'm sure there's so much like detail here that's like very specific.
Yes,
but just like
I don't want to go too deep.
Okay,
I'm trying not to go too deep. Come to one of our webinars and you'll find out more. But yeah, there's a lot to it, and I don't want to start confusing people too much, like from the off, because it can be a little confusing. But we do find that when people come along to one of our webinars, we get such lovely feedback from families that are just like, oh, this has helped so much, like so much clearer. Now I know what I need to do. So first step, come to our webinar, contact us, download our guides, and we'll help you. Okay,
just one hypothetical. I promise you it's like top level, it's not too far down. Let's say, for example, someone... John has a trust, and the parents have had his like older sibling be the trustee, for example. Yeah. If John wants to take, is there limits on how much he can take out of the trust? Like, would that be things that are set out? Like, if he wants to take 50% of it for something, for whatever the case may be, can the older sibling just release it to him, or is it more complicated than that? Or
it's more complicated than that. So I would say speak to a legal professional for the answer.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, another question from a parent. Is there someone at Mencap who will help us source a suitable trust? Do we need a solicitor of our own to do this?
You need a solicitor to write your will if you don't have a will in place, and also to review your will or update your will, especially if you're setting up a trust to sit in that will. And and you need a legal professional to set up a trust as well. We do have Mencap Trust Company, who are a not-for-profit company who work alongside Mencap, who do set up trusts for people with learning disability and neurodiversity, and they can set up a discretionary trust or a disabled persons trust, but they act as sole trustee, meaning they work closely with your family members and friends, but they manage the trust themselves.
Another question from a parent: should I make my other adult children trustees, or can Mencap provide independent trustees who are not emotionally involved? I mean, you spoke to that a little bit, but...
Yeah, I did touch on that. So we do have, you can have your siblings as trustees of a trust as long as they're over the age of 18. If you'd prefer not to put that responsibility on family or friends, then you can ask a legal professional to be a professional trustee of the trust, or you can speak to a trust company, such as Mencap Trust Company, who can act as a trustee for the trust as well.
Okay, great, thank you. And another question from a parent: the realistic case is that my son is unlikely to have children of their own and may not use their money up. What happens to it then, to the money then, and can we name a beneficiary for it, though we may not be around?
If the person who the trustee has been set up for passes away, you can actually name other beneficiaries to sit alongside them. So earlier on I mentioned a discretionary trust. So you'd have multiple beneficiaries sitting in that pool who could benefit from the trust. So, and then for a disabled persons trust, the main beneficiary would be the person with a learning disability, but you can also still name other beneficiaries as well. If you don't have anyone that you want to pass your money on to, we sometimes suggest that you could leave charities as the end stop beneficiary. So what that means is once the person who the trust is set up for passes away, any money that's left would be go to the charity. But that doesn't mean, that people will be saving money to go to the charity. We would use all that money as much as possible for the person who's benefiting from the trust. And then if there's any residue, that will go to a charity or to other beneficiaries that you've named.
Okay, great, thank you. And the final question from a parent is there any advice on where to draw up our wills so a trust for our son is included in the same way that money for our other two children is included?
Yep, so you can speak to a STEP qualified legal professional. They'll help you write your will and set up a trust. They'll also talk to you about your personal circumstances as well, as it may be that you could put your other children in the trust alongside your loved one with a learning disability. But if not, if you wanted to leave money to your other children, then you're more than welcome to in the will. But definitely discuss it with a qualified legal professional who can advise you.
Excellent. So, I think what I'm sort of taking in conclusion is that there are things available, which is the main thing. Mencap have so many different options and webinars and places to get information, and that the main thing is that each individual circumstance is exactly that. It's individual, it's going to be nuanced and different, but there are options, there are ways to include it in your will to have a trust alongside, other children or other beneficiaries, but you can also set up just a dedicated trust. Either way, there are options, and though it's a scary topic, it can be handled and planned ahead of time, and then hopefully leaving the beneficiary in the best position that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the Wills and Trust Service, we're here to help you. So please don't be afraid to get in touch with any questions that you may have on Wills and Trusts, and we'll do as much as we can to help you and to ensure that it's not a daunting process. It's horrible to think about, leaving your loved one and you, not being here, but if you've got those provisions put in place, I think you'll sleep so much more soundly knowing that they're going to be protected when you're no longer here.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for your time. So you can find out more about Mencap, all of the links and places below. And if you want to find out more about the Inclusion Project, then you can at inclusionproject.co.uk and on social media and all of those places. And again, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you so much.
Hello. I'm saying hello first.
Yeah.
Sorry. Cut. Okay.